The Singapore President Halimah Yacob and Prime Minister Loong have conveyed their condolences to British leaders on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. In her letter to King Charles III, Madam Halimah reflected on the Queen's 3 visits to Singapore and how she presided over the first ever state visit to Britain by a Singapore president in 2014. In his letter, Mr. Lee paid tribute to the Queen as a great world leader and said she left a significant mark on Singapore's history and its long-standing relations with the United Kingdom. Mr. Lee also extended his condolences to newly elected British Prime Minister Elizabeth Truss. He said the Queen stood as a symbol of hope, stability and continuity, and her passing was a tremendous loss to the Commonwealth family. Mr. Lee also signed the condolence book for the Queen at Eden Hall, the official residence of the British High Commissioner. As a mark of respect, state flags at all government buildings in Singapore will be flown at half-mast on the day of the funeral. With the Queen's death prompting an outpouring of grief and gratitude here, the British High Commission says it's opening a condolence book to the public from tomorrow. Brandon Tanoto has more.
Fresh flowers and handwritten notes. Now these lay along the entrance of the British High Commission. And on a cold and rainy Friday afternoon, many have still made their way here to pay tribute. Among the notes left here are messages of solace and comfort, as well as of gratitude towards the Queen for her contributions to the UK and the world. The messages are from people of different nationalities. Most reside in Singapore, while others are here on vacation. Emotions ran high among a few. Some were on the brink of tears as they recounted their fondest memories of the Queen.
Her stalwartness, her spine, her dignity, her honesty, her commitment. She's a fine example. May she rest in peace. Yeah.
She's been an institute to the UK and the Commonwealth and the world, really. And I just felt it was my duty to come down here and pay my respects.
All the events of our lives have been marked with her present. We've celebrated with her along the way, weddings, jubilees, things of that nature. So it's a very sad day that that today has come about.
Queues of mourners are expected at the British High Commission over the next days. It advises those who would like to sign and leave a message in the condolence book to avoid bringing along bulky items, as the public will be subjected to security checks.
Britain's Queen visited Singapore 3 times, once in the 1970s, again in the 1980s, and for a final time in the 2000s. On her first trip, back in 1972, a young boy living in a public housing estate was surprised by a royal visit to his home. Rebecca Mateo with the story.
At a state banquet
From state banquets to walking around the neighbourhood, Britain's longest reigning monarch was given a grand tour of the country during her 3 visits to Singapore. The first, in 1972, saw her stop by Toa Payoh, one of the first public housing estates here. This family's flat was one of the 2 that the Queen visited. Jerome Lim was only 7 then. Now in his 50s, he still remembers her visit vividly.
I think one of the things I remember was shaking hands with the Queen, and then a neighbour had told me not to wash my hands, so I didn't wash my hands until I had no choice. My mother told me after that, you want to have dinner? Please wash your hands.
The 3-day trip also saw a yellow and green dendrobium named after the Queen, in what has been described as Singapore's orchid diplomacy. Queen Elizabeth also met with President Benjamin Sheares, then Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew and other government officials. Her next visit to Singapore was in 1989 by the invitation of then President Wee Kim Wee. Like her other visits, the Queen was treated to a state banquet at the Istana. She also paid her respects at the Kranji War Memorial to honor the Allied soldiers killed during World War II. Her final visit to Singapore would come almost 2 decades later. She was received by then-President Srettnathan at the Istana, where she also met Prime Minister Hsien Loong. But the Queen has also left behind more than just the close bilateral ties with the UK and the warm relationship with its monarch. Singapore celebrated the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II with a week of activities back in 1953. In the same year, Singapore's first satellite town, Queenstown, was also named after the Queen. Some places and roads here were also named after cities and towns in Scotland, where the Queen spent most of her childhood. These significant marks on Singapore's history will keep her memory lingering on for generations to come.